Just for me, just for me. Jesus lived and died just for me. When I was like 18, 19, I used to go to this church. And my girlfriend at the time, her dad used to sing that song. I used to love it. I used to love that song, man. Because he was saying it with such, like you can tell he really meant it. You know what I mean? It wasn't this hop around the church. It wasn't all these flexions in your voice you just don't need to get the point across. like, like who are you glorifying doing that? You know what I mean? It's like God has nothing to do with that. Like he ain't even in it. God even said, look, when you pray, don't keep saying the same thing. Just say it once. I already know what you want. Like I already know what you're gonna ask for. Just say it once. Keep rocking. I'll be man. I'll be like I'm leaving. I don't want to hear this mess. So, I have a strong church background. My uncle was a dynamite preacher. Owned a few churches. Last church he had was in his home because he couldn't keep them open. For one reason or another, you know, they would change hands. But, he was like, nah, I'm going to still preach. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to still preach. He was a welder. Uncle James, that was my dude, man. That was my dude. He died when I was in the service. I was in Germany. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I'm going to tell y'all what happened. Because this was a paranormal experience. I was going to go somewhere else with this conversation, but I'm going to talk about paranormal activity. You know what I'm saying? Most time people talk about paranormal activity, they don't talk about how it's happening to them. I'm going to talk about how it happened to me. I've had a couple of situations. Now, when I was a kid, I used to have these strange dreams and, you know what I'm saying, crazy dreams. I was like, whatever. Nightmares, kept having them. Didn't understand what was going on, just had these nightmares. You know what I mean? They were real strong when I was like 11, 12. They were so strong that they would keep me up at night. You know what I'm saying? I'd just wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be staring. I'd be staring at the closet because it had this design on it. Spooked the hell out of me. One time I saw the statue of Mary coming at me because where I lived, there was a statue of Mary. I had a dream that, she had these real evil eyes and she was coming at me. Of course, I can still remember it because I'm talking about it. Scared the hell out of me. Woo! Still scary. Then I would often have these dreams, of Medusa and, with the snakes in her hair. And then I finally started going into my dreams and was like, you know what, I'm tired of being scared of whatever this is. So I would go into my dreams and I'd be like, I'm going to control the dream. And that was kind of the beginning of something that was just turned out to be very interesting in my life because now when I have nightmares, I use the same technique. I go into the dream. If I go in a dream, I'm having a nightmare, and I realize I'm having a nightmare, I just say, wake up. And then, I went and I'd start having nightmares or I'd just start having dreams and I would realize I'm dreaming and then I would say, wake up. And then I realize I'm still in a dream. So I was going from one dream to another. Well, a dream within a dream. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm traveling through different dimensions. You know, nightmares are still scary. I still have them. Night terrors, wake up and you pretty much feel like you're still there. But one of my paranormal experiences, one of them, I've had a few. I had one recently too. Doggone, which one was I going to tell y'all about? I'll tell y'all about man, what was I going? I had one I really wanted to tell y'all about. Ugh. Oh man, I forgot. Okay, well I'll tell y'all about this one. I was living with a I don't know if it was I don't know if it was a ghost. Just I don't know what it was. But what it would do is my old apartment. But what it would do is it would constantly let me know it was there, and it wouldn't hide in my closet, but that was pretty much the location it was at, in my closet, and I feel it, and I would feel it, you know what I mean? And I thought it was just me, right? I was like, this ain't nothing, this ain't nothing big, you know. So for the longest time, then I start having visions of what it is, and I was just like, I think this is somebody who died here, and they're trying to communicate one way or another. So, but the thing about it is when you start feeling, the presence of whatever it is, your hair stands up, you catch a spirit, you catch a feeling of fear because your mind doesn't recognize what it is. It's abnormal to you, you know what I mean? So you're just like, okay, this is something, I just don't know what it is. Wouldn't say anything though, but it would do stuff like, uh, when I'd be asleep and it would knock something over in my living room, and I would come out and see something knocked over, and I'm like, I know this is not possible. It can just still happens every now and then. It just knocks something over. I'm just like, that's not even possible. Can knock this over. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just me and I'm tripping. So one day I had this young lady over who was chilling, right, talking on the couch. Closet door is like right there, and then she started shaking. She's like, and I was looking at her like, what's going on? She's like, I feel like there's something about to come out of your closet. Now, mind you, I never told her about the closet or what was in the closet. Never said a word. Never. And of course, because people would be afraid to come over and talk to you. So when she said that, I had already knew what was going on. I knew there was something it didn't live in a closet, but it was coming through the closet. It was using some type of portal to travel from one place to another. And my apartment building just happened to be one of those places of origin. And so I don't even know if it was one or if it was many. But I know that I would feel it. And sometimes, it scared the heck out of me. And sometimes I'd be laying on my bed and I would feel imprints in my bed. It would feel like it was pushing down on my bed. And it would wake me up. But what I'd do is I would just lay there like I wasn't awake at all. Because I wanted to make sure I wasn't dreaming. And I would just feel these handprints in my bed, just pushing down on my bed like this. And I just lay there. Now, of course, I was scared, but I got used to it. And every now and then it would just shout, say something, call my name, and I'd just wake up and there'd be nobody there. But when that woman said that there's something in the closet, I knew that I wasn't crazy. I was like, I'm not dreaming this stuff. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. There is actually something here because I never told her that. So, and her spirit caught it too. Like, it was making itself known. Now, eventually I moved away from that place, but those kind of things still happen to me. Like, about 2 months ago, I had a young lady over, and we were sitting in my computer room where I usually make some of these videos. She had just got done talking to her son on the phone, and she hung up the phone, and she was about to put it away, and she heard her son say, "Mom." And she looked at the phone, and we both heard it at the same time. And we both she looked at the phone, and she's like, "The phone is off." And I'm looking at it, the phone was all the way off. And we both heard it. It wasn't like, I just heard my son. It was like we both heard it froze, looked at each other, and then she looked at the phone. And she said, we just can't explain it. So I'm thinking whatever it was, it was a spirit that mimicked a boy's voice. You know what I mean? And I've had a lot of paranormal activity happen to me to the point where I just start talking back like, what do you want? Go away in Jesus' name. But what I don't do is invite it. I don't do that. You guys playing these games you see online and the spinner little thing and calling people's names out. I don't play those games. I don't play those because you never know who's coming through the portal. So another thing I start doing is, the angels are God's servants. So I was like, Lord, send your angels to protect me while I sleep, so on and so forth. During the day, and all that. And I also say, Lord, close the portal, because I had a dream that I was talking to. It was a spiritual form. Maybe it was an angelic individual or whatever, but I was talking to two people. And when I was talking to the one person, I knew it wasn't human. I knew it was like an angelic person. But the other person, I knew was, somebody bad. And they were both spiritual, whatever. It wasn't human. But they were talking to me, and I was sitting there having a conversation with them. And then right out of like the wall, like the shadow, these two other individuals came out and grabbed the bad dude, and pulled him in. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So about 10 years ago, maybe more, I went to visit this young lady. Uh, no, in my apartment still, in my apartment, in the one I had the first paranormal activity uh, that I was telling y'all about. But I was in another apartment, the same building, another apartment. And my girlfriend lived right across the hall from me, and she was gone. So, I was just living in her apartment for a minute, just watching it till she came back from vacation. And I was talking to this other chick on the phone because, we was just talking, and I saw this dark figure come right out of the wall. I'm sitting there on the phone. I'm looking at this thing. I'm laying down. I'm looking at this thing, and it just popped right out like, and it was just kind of like standing there. And I looked at it, and once it dissipated, once it I guess it like went back into the wall, but I can remember it come out. It was a dark figure. It was pitch black, and once it came out, I just looked and went back in, and I was like, I'm coming to see you. And I hung up the phone. I put on my clothes, and I floored it to this chick's house. She lived, she lived like 5 miles from me. I got there in lickety split time. And when I got in the door, she let me in. She was like, Tony, you look like you saw a ghost. That's her immediate and exact words. And she was like, come here. And she like showed me took to the bathroom, showed me the mirror. It was like Scooby Doo, when their skin turns white, that really happens. My skin turned white, grayish white. It was scary. It just blew my whole head. It blew my whole head. And it made me realize that we're never alone. You know what I mean? And you don't want to be. You don't want to be alone. I found that out. You know what I'm saying? Because these spirits, whether angels or demons, have been around me all my life. And I realize now that you do not want to be alone. Lord, leave me alone. No, you don't ever want to tell God to leave you alone. You know what I'm saying? You're never safe if the Lord doesn't influence your safety. You're never, ever, ever. These creatures can come out of anything. They can find any type of portal to come into your life. Now, I want to get this straight. None of us are holier than thou. None of us. None of us. And any one of us can invoke and provoke one of these type of spirits. And it's not like once they get around you, it's all hell breaks loose. No, because there are people who live with these spirits inside of them and they don't know that they're there. And I keep saying this. Anytime you say you got a bad habit, you do not have a bad habit. You have a live 100% embodiment, an individual that is living in you, telling you to do whatever it is that you're doing. You don't believe me? Call it out. If it's smoking cigarettes, if it's sexual in nature, if it's cocaine or drug related, if it's mean, you just like being mean, you just like cursing at people, you like being sneaky, you like cheating, uh, you like lying, sleeping around with other people, deceiving, back talking, attitudinal. You just all the time. Now, I don't mean like you're having a bad day. I mean you all the time like that. Like, you just mean. Like one of my neighbors. Just mean as fire. For no reason. Dude comes outside. You'll never see him smile. He just mean. You know what I'm saying? But if you think that you have a bad habit, you don't. You have a bad spirit. Call it out. Go ahead. Just call out the spirit of smoking or whatever it is that you're doing. You're a pugilist. You always want to fight for no reason. You're just looking at people and you want to start beating people up. That is a spirit. 100%. 100%. And the only way that you can get rid of that is through Christ the Lord. You can get rid of it. But sometimes you might have to fast and pray. You know what I'm saying? Get on with these kids. I've had some other paranormal experiences too. Yeah, where trying to think of some more besides them knocking stuff over. Because they'll knock something over in your house in a minute. You know what I mean? It's something else. But anyway, boy Tone 202. Talk to you guys later.